Well, they got the win. Was Mike Tomlin vindicated, though, Keyshawn, with this win?
Did he really need vindication, though?
Well, we had a lot of conversations about what it was going to mean to bench Justin Fields. Should they bench Justin Fields?
He needed vindication from Key, because Key wouldn't have did this move.
No,
you wouldn't have done it.
As many people in sports, National Football League, whatever you want to call it, when you have somebody who has a team that's kind of rolling, you're 4-2, right? And the quarterback isn't playing horrible, but he's playing good enough for you to win, but not playing great where you see the vision at the end of the tunnel this early in the season, you wouldn't necessarily make the move. But I have to honestly say, we don't really get an opportunity to see what they see. And I mean people in the room, right? Watching film, breaking it down, understanding. When you go back, and I thought about this when I went back and thought about what Justin Fields said, had I been playing better, this probably wouldn't even be a conversation. So you're looking at film, and we're looking at it from a television standpoint, or even at the games, and we're like, oh, he's playing well. But there's certain things that he may be missing. He completes a ball over here for 5 yards, but there's really a chunk yards where they really want him to go for 17 yards. Or he pulled the ball down too early and ran with it, and we're like, oh, man, that's what we're talking about. But that really wasn't the right play. Coaches start looking at that and saying, if I had Russ here, he would be doing this. It's funny that they scored, what was it, 30 points?
37.
So they scored 37 points when you put Russ in.
Most points they scored all year.
Most points they scored all year. So you look at that, and clearly he saw something that would give the offense a little bit of a boost. George Pickens all of a sudden looked like a number one wide receiver opposed to a guy who just is talking about other guys all the time. So but he doesn't need to be vindicated. There's no validation with Mike T, because Mike T's the coach. He didn't lose the locker room. They won. And so it's all the rest is history. I wouldn't have done it, though. Like Paul said, at 4-2, Joy, I'm not doing that.
But this is the thing, Key and Joy. Like,
because I'm scared.
Like, think about this. This is Mike Tomlin. He's going to go down. He's a Hall of Fame coach.
For sure.
He's one of the greatest coaches that's ever going to coach the game. Why would you question his decisions? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you question him.
He's not one of these new coaches, young coach, or coach that haven't won.
Yeah, but I'm going to question him because Russ ain't played football since last year.
So obviously, based on the things that you said, he's seeing something on the tape. He's seeing something in his practice. He's looking at the playbook and said, Russ is a better fit. Now, thank God that Justin Fields got us through these 6 games that Russ was out. But like I said last week, who gives us the best chance, and who do I trust more when it gets down to the nitty-gritty? When it comes down, when those divisional games come up toward the end of the year, who am I going to trust more and in the playoffs? Because in the last, 5 years, we haven't made it out of the first round. So do I trust Justin Fields, or do I have to roll the dice with Russ?
Well,
and I think when you have to look at it like that, you got to go with Russ. I mean, we don't know if he got it right yet. He won 1 game.
Well, I'm saying he clearly got it right for this game.
Yeah, for this game, he got it right. But I think this is going to show when they get into the playoffs, and then when they get into some of those games where they're playing in their division against some of these other tough teams that they're going to have to play toward the end of the year, when they have to see teams like Baltimore, the Bengals. I mean, these is going to be teams that it gets tougher as the year goes along.
I think he was vindicated. There were a lot of questions about whether he should or should not do this, whether it was the right decision, whether it was going to derail the season, whether it was going to mess up Justin Fields' confidence if Russ didn't play at the level that he played last night. If they had lost the game, there would be questions about whether it was the right choice, no matter how they lost, or whether it was Justin Fields' fault or Russell Wilson's fault or not. That would have come into question. Now, you say, like, why do we question Mike Tomlin? Yes. But, sometimes coaches make decisions that are questionable. Just because a coach has had a long history of excellence doesn't mean they always make the right decision. But, today he can be like, don't worry about what I do over here. Don't worry about what I do over here. He was 100% right. And while, we don't know how the rest of the season is going to go, obviously, right now he's right. And this is what we have to base it on. And it's not just
for another week. He's right for another week.
They got the Giants or the Raiders? Who they got coming up?
But I'm saying Giants, but he's right for another week.
Yep.
Maybe. It depends on how Russ looks. If they lose the game because
he can
of
ride
Russ,
this until they play again.
But the point of this move, I believe, now looking at how Russ performs and how he did improve the passing game, how it was the offense was more opened up. You did get George Pickens involved, had multiple passing touchdowns. There was a little bit of a clunkiness to start the game, but once he got going, he looked like a guy that could command a modern offense. My concern with the Steelers all season long hasn't been, can they win games? Of course they can win games. We've seen them never have a losing season under Mike Tomlin. He can win games with anyone. But is the goal to win games, or is the goal to compete for a championship? You have a championship level defense, one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league, one of the most disruptive defenses in the league, a defense that gets you extra possessions from turnovers.
Yes.
Can you capitalize on that? And it can't always be, okay, we're going to run the ball. Okay, it doesn't work. I'm going to use my legs. That works in certain situations. You have to be able to get chunk yards and big-time plays against these offenses that are playing on both sides of the ball, which is clearly what Mike Tomlin feels as well, which is why he made this move to Russell Wilson, because we know that Justin Fields could make those plays with his legs.
No, and that's why I said when you're watching a film, because many times, like when we used to watch film, right, the quarterback was playing good ball.
Right.
But there's plays that was left on the field because you were being super conservative or whatever it may have been when they're not asking you to do that. Or you held on to the ball slightly too long, or you didn't hold on to it long enough. Those are the little things that coaches get a chance to dissect film after games as a staff and see. And that may be where Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, and Mike Tomlin, the head coach, sat down with the rest of the staff and was looking at things and said, Russell, this is different for Russ. Russell do this, Russell do that, which then they go to practice and they see these things, so it almost kind of forces them and forces their hand to pull the trigger. I just think that when you rolling, you 4-2, and you kind of rolling, and you coming off a nice win in Las Vegas against the Raiders, and then the following week you want to make a move, it's just like a little bit of a head scratcher, opposed to we're 4-2. Russ started the season. He was here last year. He's our guy. He happened to get hurt, so we're not going to let him get wildly pipped. He goes back in.
Well, there's a reason he was named the starter early in the year before he got hurt. It was a reason. It was something they saw with this offense that said, you're the starter. Now, Fields, the 4-2 is amazing, but it's a reason he was named the starter.
Yeah,
and we saw it yesterday.
Being able to throw on first and second down, being able to get those chunk yardage, the deep ball. Russ has that, and it has a different touch on it and a different viewpoint of the game because he is so experienced. How impressive was Russell Wilson to you, Paul?
Man, Russell on a scale of 1 to 10, I gave him a 10. I mean, he was out 6 weeks, hardly had a training camp. He came in, was rusty, and he threw for more yards this year than we've thrown all year. He got 300-plus yards. I mean, this is impressive. This is as impressive as it gets because you know why? I'm like, whoa, this is week 1. They got a championship defense. The Steelers look like this. Man, just wait till he really settle in. Just wait till he really settle in. In about 4 weeks, this offense is going to be really clicking in. On top of having a championship defense, Mike Tomlin said, hey, we could probably challenge for a Super Bowl because you know what? Defense wins championships because we see Kansas City Chiefs, they winning, they 6-0, but Mahomes ain't looked all that impressive. But what's holding the Chiefs together? They defense. And what got Baltimore to the conference championship? They defense. So Mike Tomlin said, hey, if we can muster up some type of offense, which Russell can do, because I just felt like I was holding my breath every time Justin Fields, they hiked the ball. You kind of hold your breath like, what's he going to do now? He wasn't making mistakes, but he just really couldn't make the big play. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can make the big run, but that big play downfield that we saw Russ make last night. And so I was thoroughly impressed.
He looked fine. I mean, he looked fine. He early on, he was trying to figure it all out still, trying to understand how to play professional football again after sitting out for 6 weeks, and then it clicked, it got going. But if he keeps it going this way all season long, I have no problem with it. Now I start to second guess if all of a sudden we get 1 or 2 losses along the way, and those 1 or 2 losses he doesn't play this way, he plays like Russell in Denver. Now you start saying, okay, well, wait a minute, hold on. Was that night just the Jets or the Giants? Or when they play Baltimore, is it going to look like that, or is it going to look like Denver?
Well, I mean, I don't think we need to go back.
I'm going there.
You are?
Yeah, I'm going there.
Okay.
Because it's a decision that a coach got to make.
But is it going to matter what he looks like or what the team looks like?
Yeah.
Well, the team looks better, obviously, with him at the quarterback position.
But maybe that level of play isn't going to be enough to beat Baltimore. Maybe it was enough to beat the Jets.
But what I'm saying, though, Joy, we say, is it the team or is it him?
Mm-hmm.
Based on the way he played last night, the team looked like a real football team that's here to stay.
Yeah.
But he was part of that. If all of a sudden he starts to struggle and the team starts to look like they're struggling, now what we going to say?
Yeah, I mean, then I think the conversation will be, let's go back to Justin
Now
Fields.
we gonna go back and forth.
But I think that's the table that they've set this year.
And the good thing about that, though, is Justin Fields has a body of work as a Steeler now with 6 games under his belt. That's a good thing.
He's more familiar. Yeah, it's not like you're pulling him. I think that. Look, hopefully we don't get to that conversation.
No, hopefully we don't. But I'm just trying to give you the real.
How are the Steelers built? Defense. Everything that Russ does is a bonus. They're built to win with their defense.
Well, if they were built to win with their defense, though,
Russ don't have to be great.
But if they were built with their defense, why did many people sit around and complain about where the offense looked when they was winning?
Well, obviously I wasn't alone, so I'm with Mike Tomlin. So point those fingers at me if Mike Tomlin was making the same decision. And I was with you. I didn't know that this was going to be a good move. I was very skeptic of what Russ was going to look like. But I think what you saw last night was the big-time play. Is Justin Fields able to get the wide receivers involved? Yes. You can win with defense. You run the ball. You play physical football. All that's great. You still need to be able to, at certain points in the game, push the ball down the field.
This looked, in all honesty, though, this looked like early Seattle, Russell Wilson. You get 100 yards out your running game from Najee Harris and get a little bit more from a couple other people. So you had about $150. And you got a quarterback that can make 1 or 2 to 3 throws a game, and you're going to play solid defense and not screw it up on special teams, and you're going to get out of there with a win. That's Steeler football.
Well, over to the team that lost last night. Aaron Rodgers threw 2 interceptions in the loss as the Jets managed to only get 15 points after they traded for Devontae Adams. Rodgers was asked after the game what the team needs to do to keep belief in the locker room.
Listening to you guys. Listening to who?
Listening to us.
Media.
He ain't listening to me. He ain't listening to me.
Man,
if he listening to me, I ain't told him to do nothing.
You're the media, Keyshawn. He's talking about you.
I'm not trying to separate myself from where I get my check from. I'm just saying,
so he's talking about you.
He's not listening to me because I ain't told him to do nothing wrong. I didn't tell him to only run the football. I didn't tell him to only run the football 15 times.
I said he got to play better. And this is worrisome to me because this is the 3rd week in a row that Rodgers says, I have to play better. I have to. Like, how many more of these does he get?
As many as you want to give him.
How much is this 2-5 start on him?
I think all of it is on him. This is a guy who brought his coaches over here. He got the players he wanted. He brought his kingdom of Green Bay and brought it over here to New York and said, all right, this is what's going to make me comfortable. Coach get fired. I can do whatever I want. Just don't worry. When I get healthy, we'll be all right. And the fact of the matter is that they're worse off this year than they were last year at this same point. The offense hasn't gotten any better. And what we say, all they needed is to muster up some offense because they got the defense. Well, it doesn't look like they have any one of those things anymore. Just when you thought, okay, the defense looked good so far this year, but the last 2 games, they've given up 30 points or 30-plus points. So now it's the offense. They brought Rodgers over here for the offense. So, I mean, do I blame him? I mean, his lack of production, his lack of leadership, it's just everything. Throwing teammates under the bus, it's just everything. I put it all on him. Because, who else is it now? We've given you everything you wanted, and you're not delivering on your side of the bargain.
Go ahead.
All of it's on him. If they were winning, it would be because of him. So he gets the blame. And he himself is not playing well. So it's not like he's going out there and being perfect and and everyone else is struggling. Also, you mentioned the defense. I mean, you keep putting your defense in these bad situations with these turnovers. That doesn't help either. You've got all these sudden changes because you're turning the ball over. That affects the defense. You might have a great defense if they're constantly on the field because you're turning the ball over. Then, they get tired and then they have to defend quick red zone situations. Like, all that matters. he's not really known for, like, galvanizing the team. This was my question with Aaron Rodgers from the beginning of this whole situation, way back when the Jets first got him. How is he going to create a culture? Do we expect him to be an MVP-level player? Because he hasn't been that.
No.
And when you're talking about coming in and taking a team that doesn't have a winning culture, that doesn't have accountability, that doesn't have anyone in the room that can step to him and say, look, I'm a champion too. I know how to do this too. It's one thing when you are the face of the organization, all the expectations are at your feet, and there's nobody else in the room that can check you. Who gonna check me, boo?
Nobody.
Who gonna check me, boo?
And that's what it is. That's what it is. It's not a championship level organization, and it's a lot to ask. And then on top of it, he doesn't speak that way. Why are you talking about the media? How is this the media's fault?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to understand. That's why I said, like, what I didn't tell
I'm
them.
just over here drinking a latte.
But think
What does
about
that have to do with me?
One of the first things he said is we got to run the ball better. You're never going to run the ball better if you're only running it 15 times. You're just not going to run it better. Breece Hall is not getting the necessary touches to get the engine going. Allen's not getting the necessary touches to get the engine going. So you start off by saying that, but then you want to blame the media again. I didn't tell you to run it 15 times. I didn't tell you to throw Mike Williams under the bus. Those are the things that I did not. Now, you asked the question, Joy, how much of it is on Aaron Rodgers? I would say all of it is on Aaron Rodgers. Because I can go all the way back. I can go all the way back to last year if I choose to do so. By duping us, making us think that you coming back in December after the Achilles. Then I can fast forward into the offseason and mini camps when Aaron Rodgers elected to go to Egypt instead of being around the team, which I'm fine with. And the reason I was fine with it because Saleh said he was fine with it. So I had to be fine with it. Now, would I have liked to see my quarterback at least standing behind the huddle in mini camp, even though he wasn't going to throw any footballs? Of course I would have. But you start there. Then you go into the season and you win a game, and then you don't want to hug the coach. You push the coach away, and then Paul Pierce is making a mockery out of him for weeks to come. Then all of a sudden you got the Cadence issue. Who's Cadence? There ain't no Cadence, but so you got that problem. Then a week later, the head coach is gone. Then all of a sudden, Devontae Adams is there. Hackett is demoted. All of that, like you said, Joy, I got the power. I got the power. Because the dude that's considered the greatest quarterback to ever play, he had the power. He went to Tampa. He brought in Gronk. He bring in AB. He helped recruit Fournette. They went on and won a Super Bowl because he had the power. See, and if he would have lost, guess what we'd have been saying? Tom Brady is washed. He can't play anymore. He went and got all these dudes and don't know what he's doing. Aaron Rodgers did the same thing. Okay, he had a Hackett as his offensive coordinator because he believed in what he was doing when he was in Green Bay. Helped Hackett get the job in Denver. He flexed his muscles long enough. So now it's the point where, in my, as they say, humble opinion, I feel like a lot of this, if not all of it, is on Aaron Rodgers, and he's got to fix it before he leaves New York. He's got to fix it. Now, I don't know how much fixing is left to do, but he's got to fix it.
But you guys have both won championships. And you know, at some point during a championship run, you're going to be faced with some level of adversity. Something's going to happen, whether it's an injury or there's something going on in the locker room, or you're not playing well when some side of the ball is struggling, or there's some, internal issues. How you work through that adversity, not only keep it internal, but like work through it and take accountability for it. That's what championship level organizations do. You just listed a whole book, Keyshawn, of all the adversity, all the stories, all the drama.
I was 1-15 when we had all of that. When I was 1-15 as a New York Jet, when all the things that the Jets are dealing with, this to that and the other, we went 1-15.
Yeah, well, okay, so they're doing a little better right now. They're 2-5.
Yeah, they're doing a little bit better, right? But at the end of what I was getting at is what you're saying. When I was in Tampa, we won a Super Bowl because we had a team and a unit, and it wasn't any of that. The moment that we got back to that stuff that the Jets is doing, we didn't do nothing.
Yeah, because it's too much distraction. There's too much going on. There's too much finger pointing. No one's on the same page. And my point about who going to check me is, like, you need to have somebody above Aaron Rodgers who can step to him and that he respects to get all this back on the same page.
The boo part, though.
Who going to check me, boo?
And then she do the hair.
I'm saying, though, like, when you have a situation like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid,
Yeah.
or Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. When you have a relationship between the coach, even if it's not, we know that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady didn't have the most personal relationship, but there's a level of respect here. We've been through things together. I've won, you've won. I can come to the table and say we should do it like this. Even Bruce Arians with Tom Brady, like they came together. They were struggling before the bye. They came together and said, we're going to change things and do this way. We're going to collaborate on things. We're going to work as a team.
This is a failed experiment in New York. I'm willing to say that sitting at 2-5, it's a wrap.
Well, this isn't the comp that it is for Brady or even for Stafford. Like this idea that you just take this aging Hall of Famer or this player that's been in a place for a long time and just put them on a team that has all this talent and it's all of a sudden going to work. Sean McVay was in a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. Sean McVay was a winning coach with a culture and other talent, Hall of Fame talent on that team. He had the ability to walk up to Matthew Stafford and have a conversation of respect. Bruce Arians was a coach of the year before Tom Brady got there.
Yeah, but you're also talking about two quarterbacks when you mentioned Stafford and Brady that's not personality-wise Aaron Rodgers. So it's a little bit different. When Matthew Stafford walk out of the locker room, players ain't looking at him like he got frogs on his face. Tom Brady walks out of the locker room, they're not looking at him like that. It's just a different personality, a different person. That I do know. If I know anything, I know that.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.